That initial work on those live edge boards happened September of last year. But then I leaned them up against the wall and paused the project. I was really buried with a ton of product development work. Most of it I haven't showed you yet. And I also had a ton of production work that I was behind on. I had just left MagSwitch, I was on my own for the first time, and this glut of work that I needed to get through, and then right into holiday sales, and the fulfillment of holiday sales, the holidays themselves, and then into the new year with some pretty ambitious trade shows that I did. It was a lot, and through it all, those boards sat right here, not doing what I intended them to do. And then, as I explained in my last video, priorities changed, and I decided that I needed to clean up all of this so that I could move out of my storage room, save $1,000 a month. The project that those formerly leaning on the wall boards are for will help me with that, so I pulled them off the wall and got back to it. I kicked off my last video by saying that the dog tops that I sell are awesome. And that I have a sale on them right now because I make them myself and that makes them a priority. That video worked. I sold a lot. So right now I'm making more. One thing that I didn't mention in that last video is that because the dog tops have a flush, unbroken wooden top, you can level your bench anytime you think you need to do that. And it just so happens that I found a really good reason to level my bench because of this project with the live edge boards that I'm working on. So let's finish this batch of dogs, I'll level the bench, and then I'll tell you why this project was the right time for me to get that done. And now to make the bench top look like this. The aluminum rails that you see clamped to the sides of my bench are called concrete screeds. I purchased these very early in my woodworking journey, and I can say I'm very glad I did. Having a low friction, stable, and very straight pair of lightweight beams has been useful many times, not just for flattening like this. I never talk about it, but I have an Amazon influencer storefront thing where you can see products that I like, and I just made sure that the link to these screeds is still working and that they're in stock. They are, so at least in the time of this posting they are. So check that out. The storefront link is in the description if you want to check that out and some of the other miscellaneous random stuff that I find useful in the shop. So I've got the workbench dialed in and level, and I've got the first assembly of the shelves. They still need to be sanded and finished. This is the first time they've come together sitting on top of the leveled workbench. And I knew when I got to this point, no matter how careful all the measurements are, that some of the legs, see that? Not really any pressure. Let's check the other side. Pretty loose, not much pressure. That probably means, yes indeed, the center has lots of pressure. It's just a little bit too long. This is a lot better than it could have been. It doesn't really wobble very much. I probably could get away with it, but I would like it dialed in a little bit more. At the start of the project, when I anticipated being in this position, I started thinking about novel ways to get the legs all perfectly even, as I do. And I had an idea that made me very glad I put a split top in my workbench. When I originally designed my bench back in 2017, I used the popular split top concept because it seemed really great to be able to get a clamp in the center of the bench for a lot of different operations. And I can say in the years since then, I've used this quite a bit for that purpose, so definitely no regrets. But I've never had any other great use for the split top until now, because my idea for a tool to get the legs level was to somehow have a sanding surface that was exactly even with the bench that traveled back and forth inside the slot so that I could pick whichever leg is too long and sand it down until it was perfect. So let's get that built. So here it is. The 4 bearings are exactly in line with the mounting surface to the sandpaper. So when I put it in the split top gap, that sanding surface is exactly even with the bench. So now I need to reposition the bench to get the leg that I want to work on over this block. Okay, let's see how this works. Seems like it kind of helps to use my hand to take a little bit of pressure off early on. I can tell I'm getting closer. The pressure on the sanding block is decreasing. I don't want to go too far, so I think I'm going to stop there and test again. So this is, yeah, it's definitely less. It wasn't that easy to scoot before. Let's check the other ones. Definitely better. It's sticking more. It may be hard to see from the camera. Not quite as much as I want. Same situation. I'm getting more friction. They're not floating like they were before, but more definitely needs to come off the center leg. Definitely pressure is lighter at this point. The really nice thing about this setup, I know I can't go too far because the other legs start taking all the load and then there's no sanding pressure on this. I'm not sure I'm taking much off anymore. Let's test all of them one more time. That one moves much easier than it used to, which is good. Got a lot more pressure here, really equal to the center one. And same story over here. So these are dialed in. That worked really well. That means that I can speak to the people who have split top benches and who also see the value in leveling the legs of furniture they make. I think that's a fairly high crossover. I think most people who have split top benches, and there are a lot of them out there, would see the value in something like this, being able to sand in plane with that solid flat bench that they have. So what I'm thinking is that I can make and sell the sides with the bearings. I can 3D print them, get it all assembled, so that all someone needs to do is cut the block that supports the sandpaper to the exact width of the center of the bench, and drill 2 holes in it and put the rollers on the sides. I think it's a cool, very niche product, the perfect kind of thing for me to be doing right now because I can make it myself. As I explained, that's a priority right now, so it's great for that. I think it'll add a lot of value for people who build furniture with split top benches. Yeah, so check that out in the description if you would like me to make you the end roller pieces to do a split top sanding tool like this. Split top sander. What should I call it? Split top sander? Split top sander rollers. Split top sander rollers. Link in description. Those fully up to speed with my channel will recognize that I used the new Pika Cap screws to join up the shelves to the legs. When I made the structural timber demonstration piece and titled the build for that piece, "Can I Change Architecture?" I knew I was inviting some pushback from people in the industry because that's a bold question to even ask. So it wasn't a surprise that I heard a lot about all sorts of certifications and problems and things that I would need to overcome if that had any chance of being a yes. But for a project like this, they're great. More than strong enough to rigidly hold the shelves and legs together, easy to take apart, and it's a really cool look, I think. The brass center I think is great. I added that option, it's a little bit cheaper, so check the pre-sale out. And now that the shelves are done, it's time to get the books out of the basement and onto their new home. Hey, if you were really in a big hurry to clear out the basement, you should have just put those books in a box in the attic. Would have taken 10 minutes. That's of course true. I guess I wasn't in that big a hurry, and it feels absolutely great to have a home for my books for the first time, really. My eclectic weird mix of chemical engineering and business and architecture and furniture and theoretical physics and Dungeons and Dragons and guitar tablature, it's all nicely organized and displayed. I love it. Also, all of that cathartic hand tool work really hit the spot to connect with the craft in a stressful time. I really enjoyed doing the project. And this marks the end to a longer story. The office is finished, my dream office. It's finally done. Also, check it out. Storage for 3D printer filament. Yes, the motors are strong enough. There's 4 of them. It's real beefy.